Out of this mass of consciousness arise jiva and all the rest of it. However, at this stage it is still not individualized for want of ignorance. And this is the purusha. This is the sense of being that there is before it gets caught up in notions. But when ignorance arises in it, then it is turned towards samsara. And this is what we get educated for. We get educated about the world and we get caught up in it. It is filled with the unborn elements. It's a bit like when you're waking up from sleep, especially when you wake up in a strange place. There's a kind of blankness, and then your mind creates your reality. It reminds you of who you are and of where you are. So these unborn elements could be the psychological conditioning, the samskaras, or you could simply understand it as elements in the usual sense, the physical sense. At this stage, the egosense or individualization arises along with the sense of time. This is the vital factor in the existence of the world. Time represents memory and continuity. If there's no continuity, if there's no time, there's no memory, there's no continuity, then a new thought couldn't be formed. It is the consciousness itself that thus becomes individualized. In it arises the notion of the root element of space. With it also appear its relationship, the word and the meaning, name and object, nama rupa. From this arise later all the other elements and the 14 worlds. There's a correlation between this and the Buddhist wheel of conditioned co-production, but I won't go into that right now. The consciousness then entertains the notion of motion. This motion is air, with its corresponding action as the sense of touch and the life of all beings. This sense of touch is very important because this is what we experience resistance through. We have freedom of movement, but we don't know we've got freedom of movement until we touch something, until we hit something, until we hit resistance or limitation. This is what gives us our sense of motion. So there's time, space, and motion. Similarly, the light that shines in consciousness is the root element of form, which bestows form on all beings. The experience of seeing is light. The experience of touch is the sense of touch. The experience of hearing is the sense of hearing. Even so, the root elements responsible for taste and smell arise. Again, this is also given in the Buddhist wheel of conditioned co-production. You've got consciousness, and then, dependent on that consciousness, the senses arise, the sense organs arise. You have consciousness, and dependent on that consciousness, you have sense experience, and because of that sense experience, we develop notions of the sense organs. Though unreal as independent substances, they appear to be real as in a dream. All these later compound with one another and create gross forms, etc. They are but the materialization of notions or ideas that arise in the infinite consciousness, not real entities. And they're notions which we concretize. We take them as reality. That by which form is seen is known as eye. That by which sound is heard is known as ear. That by which touch is experienced is known as skin. That by which taste is experienced is known as the tongue. That by which smell is experienced is known as nose, or their corresponding inner sense rather than the organ. On account of spatial and temporal limitations, the jiva gets involved in the cosmic order and is unable to experience everything. In other words, the jiva is a limitation in consciousness.